good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching, and welcome to another episode of Something About Surgery. Today, let us talk about work-based injuries or occupational injuries and compensation. A few weeks back, I had this client. She happened to have suffered some injury while at work. She had a broken forearm. We fixed it. She recovered really well, and I was certain that she didn't have any disability at all. Once we were done and I told her she was free to go back to work, she came with the forms that needed to be filled by the doctor for the insurance to assess her disability and compute her compensation. We went through the document, we went through the schedule that directors was to fill, and we filled that form comprehensively. She went, and then she came back, furious that I had written that she had zero permanent disability. So today I would like to address myself to three things. One is the filing of those claim forms called DOSH forms, or Directorate of Safety and Occupational Health. Two, what is temporary disability, and three, what is permanent disability. And finally, talk about a guide that helps us discern that. First, let us start by looking at that form, DOSH form, Directorate of Occupational Safety and Health. That form requires the doctor to fill in the injuries the patient suffered, the period of time they have been hospitalized, on follow-up, and all that, but it actually asks, does the patient require further evaluation before you can assess their state of disability? If you say yes, most of the time they will advise you wait until you are at a point where you say, I am done with this patient, they can go, this is the extent of their disability arising from that injury. So it is important, therefore, for you to wait until the doctor tells you, now I think you're done, now I think you can fill those forms. Because once you fill those forms, you complete a part we call the temporary disability. And that brings me to temporary disability. Temporary disability entails the time that you've been indisposed from work because you've been hospitalized, being operated, you have been at home, being followed up, etc. So that constitutes what is temporary incapacity. And we feel that. The second bit is the permanent disability. Now, for the permanent disability, there is actually a schedule that dictates what are the corresponding percentages for the extent of disability a patient has suffered. For instance, they will say, if a patient has loss of sight, maybe that's 100% permanent disability. If they have lost of a whole arm, maybe that is a certain percent disability. And in this video, in the comment section, I will share links to that document and that DOSH form. Now, most of the time, the patients expect that if a doctor is friendly, they might fill in 50%, 75% disability so that the insurance pays them more. But I tell the patients, but the other person who will be evaluating this before processing it also has a medical angle, and they know, and they have the schedule there to read, and you can't walk in with all your legs and all your arms and you expect me to feel 100% permanent disability. You can't. So really, what the doctor feels is directed by that act of parliament that dictates what percentage to give for what part of the body has been completely or partly damaged or lost or amputated, etc. And I request you to go through that act, especially the first schedule, to see how that goes. Now, when you are coming with the DOSH forms, please make sure that you fill them in triplicates most of the time. I have had instances where I fill one copy, patient goes, and then they come back and they say, I need another copy. Then they go, they come back, they say, I've been told I need 3 copies. So carry 3 copies and the doctor will fill for you, and the other parts will be filled, and then you go on and claim. But please, when we fill in 0% for permanent disability, it doesn't mean you weren't badly injured. It just means you have significantly recovered such that when we assess, there's no disability at all. that you can completely function just like you were before, which then means you are going to be compensated, but not for a permanent disability, but for a temporary disability that occurred during the period when you were injured. That is it about Work Injury Benefits Act, occupational and safety, and filing for compensation, especially in terms of temporary and permanent disability. Please, I would like to hear your comments, especially if there are lawyers watching, if there are occupational and safety experts watching. What are your comments? What are your reactions about this? And what ambiguity might be there in that act?